Well, how I got involved with King Records. I I was working at WLW. I had come back to WLW back in 1951. That's a long story too. And I was singing on the Midwestern Hayride, and I had some other shows that I was doing. And Wally Phillips and Vivian Delachiesa. They had many, many artists there at WLW. And Mr. Sid Nathan called me and asked me if I would come out there and cover a song recorded by Georgia Gibbs called Seven Lonely Days. Do my version of it. So I did. I went out there with, oh shucks, here I go again.
Zeke Turner.
Yeah, Zeke Turner and the other fella.
Can you start that question? I mean, that sentence. Like
anyway, these people worked at WLW, and they were on the Midwestern Hayride, so I asked them to help me, and we did that song, Seven Lonely Days, our version of it. Well, Sid Nation liked it and recorded it, and so that was the story.
What was the difference between your version of Seven Lonely Days and Georgia Gibbs's?
I really don't know. I gotta be honest with you. I don't remember her version of Seven Lonely Days, Georgia Gibbs.
You never heard it? It's like a
I
pop.
probably did, yes. Yes. But I don't remember her version of it. I really don't. The first time I heard Seven Lonely Days on the radio was quite a thrill. My demised husband, Glenn, and our daughter, Connie Jo, was on our way to Illinois. And at night, and this was on going to Illinois, and after the Midwestern Hayride, and we pulled into this truck stop. And there on the jukebox, they were playing Seven Lonely Days. Well, you don't know what a thrill that was, to hear my record on a jukebox in a truck stop. And I knew that, by golly, maybe he was going to do something, because Sid Nathan would never tell me. And then another DJ called me from Cleveland, Ohio, and he was a top DJ. And he told me, I like your record, I like your version of Seven Lonely Days, and I'm really gonna play it a lot. And he really helped me, he did, that DJ there in Cleveland, Ohio. You gotta have help, to get these records out. Sid Nathan had promotion people, but people hear it played, and then they want to play it on another station, so, that's the way it goes. It was a country version. That's what Sid Nathan wanted, was a country version of a pop version of Seven Lonely Days. And we did that on some other songs, too, some covers. Sid Nathan loved to cover records. But we made him a lot of money, too.
What was the idea?
I got a half a cent aside. No, I don't. I don't know the strategy behind Sid Nathan. He knew the song was popular, and so he would cover it in the country field with one of the artists there at King Records, and he used me a lot. But then none of them seemed to take off very much. Tennessee Wickwalk was an original tune. There was no cover on that. I was very happy about that. My record of Tennessee Wickwalk on King Records was like number 5 in the nation here. And it was a real big record in England. And also in the Netherlands. And I sent a lot of pictures to the Gold Coast in Africa. They would write King Records for me to send a picture, which I did, to the Gold Coast there. They're in Africa. I did. I promoted myself with with WLW and also with the King Records. And King Records, well, I did a lot of shows on weekends. On Sundays, I would be out in New Jersey, and where is it? Up in Cleveland, and I worked with Minnie Pearl out in Iowa, and but I would get on the train, or my husband with Connie, we would drive to those destinations, and we were beat out of the money. And where was it? Someplace up in Michigan, and the guy ran off with the money from that we were all supposed to be paid. There was quite a few people there that he took off, and so we never did get our pay. We didn't get paid there. And that was with Minnie Pearl, that show, and I don't know who else was on the show, but I remember Minnie Pearl. Our sessions for recordings were 3 hours. That was, and you would try to do as many songs as you could in 3 hours, because that was the union, okay? The union of musicians. And so usually we try to get 3 songs in. Sometimes we did and sometimes we didn't, all right? That's why some of them would sound rushed. And some, they'd just do the track, and then I would come in and record the voiceover later on, during the week or something. And that's how we would get that many records, in 3 hours. Is the band would make the track, and then I would sing with my headset, on during the week. I would be recording that. I'm really, oh well. Zeke Turner was a wonderful musician. He was on nearly all of my records that I made here with King Records. He was very talented. He came from the Grand Ole Opry up here. And he and his wife Ann, and they had 2 children. And I always stayed in contact with Zeke after he left WLW. And he and his wife moved to Daytona Beach, Florida. And he just passed away a few years ago. His wife Ann still is living. And he was a musician's musician, He was great. He was funny. He really was. And the girls liked him too.
And he performed on the Midwestern Hayride.
All the time he performed. He was there with Bill, Zeke and Billy Holmes, and then he was with the original was oh shucks,
Pleasant
I
Valley
forgot
Boys.
his name.
Not the Pleasant Valley Boys. Something like that.
Red Turner. Is that who you were thinking of too?
Right, Red Turner, yeah.
Yeah, Red Turner. And then Red Turner became a minister. And he was, yeah, in fact, one of our sponsors of the Midwestern Hayride was beer. And Zeke and Red Turner's wife was so religious, and she would get a case of beer, and she poured it all down the drain, every bit. She went ahead and accepted it, but she poured it down the drain. That's one of those little stories, Louis Ennis he worked with Sid Nathan a lot. He was a great musician. He was a rhythm guitar. And he worked on my sessions and a lot of other sessions too. Then he went to Nashville. He went to to the Grand Ole Opry after he left WLW. And his wife, I think he just passed away a few years ago too, Louis Ennis. But he was very fine musician. He was very quiet. Didn't have a lot to say to anybody. He was just there to play the guitar.
That
was it. Zeke Turner, different.
Mm-hmm.
Zeke was always on. He did a lot of comical stuff.
Um,
On the Midwestern Hayride, and also out on our booking, Zeke Turner would do a lot of comedy. Henry Glover was the right-hand man of Sid Nathan. But I didn't work with Henry Glover very much. I did in New York. We went to New York and did a session, and that proved to be bad. He was very nice. He was a very fine gentleman. He was a wonderful man, and he's. As I said, I did not know Henry Glover personally.
Right.
I just knew him to say hello to him, and I knew that he was the right-hand man of Sid Nathan. Sid Nathan in the studio with his big cigar. I mean, he was very short in stature, but powerful man. And he would strut around, and we knew Sid Nathan was in the... He always sat up there and listened all the takes of my recordings. I don't know, everybody else's too, I guess. And he would say, no, I like that one, I like that one. And that take. See, we would do, maybe 5 or 6 takes. Excuse me. And you don't have a lot of time, in 1 hour for a song. And the band's got to learn the song. And I know when I went to Nashville to record, I recorded down there one session. And you walk in there, boy, the musicians all knew what they were going to do. It was a whole different ball of wax than up here at Sid Nathan. In Nashville, I liked it. Yes, recording in Nashville. I recorded a song called "Have You Ever Been Lonely?" But you know what? It didn't do a darn thing. It was with Decca Records, and I don't even know what happened to that record. I know I don't have it. Did you ever hear it?
When you started at King, you kind of had the cowgirl outfits and stuff, but then later on they had these photos of you wearing these nice dresses. Were they trying to change your image and your sound?
No. I got my costumes out of, it was Foreman, what was his name? He was a famous designer of costumes.
Western costumes?
Uh-huh.
Nudie?
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Nudie. And he did all my costumes.
He was too.
Yeah. And in fact, a gentleman came in from San Diego. My costumes are in a museum out in San Diego. The 2 that I designed. I had 3. Would you believe it? I went and put that one in the yard sale. Can you believe that I would do a dumb thing like that? But I did. Oh, dear whiz. Hooty. I'd like to talk about that song, Daddy-O. I like the song very much. The gentleman that wrote it, I admired so much. And, isn't it terrible? I'm forgetting.
Charlie Gore.
See? My mind's getting very tired. Charlie Gore is his name. And thank you. He'll delete all of this other stuff. And Charlie Gore, and I worked with him at WLW, and I did a lot of bookings with Charlie out on the road. Not a lot, but some, And he was with a group called, with Buddy Ross and Kenny Price and Freddie Langdon. And they were all fine musicians. And Charlie Gore was one of them. And Charlie wrote the song Daddy-O. And I recorded it. I thought it would do something. I did my best to record that song and sing my best. But it made a ripple, but not much.
It seems like you were kind of popular in Great Britain. Did you ever make it over to Europe?
No. But I still am in communication with a disc jockey there in London. Yeah, he has my picture, my record in his studio where he sells his records. And I haven't heard from him recently. but he's in London, England.
It seemed when you started out at King you were a country artist, but it seemed your sound changed.
Well, Sid wanted me to. I kind of fought it, but I became, they call it Billy. Billy something.
Rockabilly.
Rockabilly. And I didn't like that name at all. But I was in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. I got a certificate for that. Is it here? Or, yeah, I think it's out there. Or maybe it's in Florida, I don't know.
Did you?
Well, the reason it changed is because of what I was doing at WLW. I was singing with an orchestra all the time, you know, and on the Paul Dixon show. And that's why I became more pop, because of that, of singing of the pop songs of the day. And old songs too, I mean older songs. But, and that's why I became more pop, because of that. But I still on Saturday night recorded, or did country and western, yodeling, and that type of thing. Plus, if I had a new record come out on King, I would do it on the Midwestern Hayride.
What did you think about that song you recorded with Rusty York? Dad, I forget. You did a duet with Rusty York.
I know, we did good. He was so hoarse at that time. He had such a cold. It's a shame. And we did the best we could. He did and I did. But it didn't prove anything. Didn't do a thing. But he just sold his record shop.
Studio.
Studio.
It seemed in the 40s, radio was really big, but it wasn't until it seemed like the 50s that Nashville got it together as a recording town. Did you get that feeling of when?
Yes, I did. Very much so. We came. It was a record field that did it. I mean the record hits. I mean with Eddie Arnold and all those people recording, and that made WSM more popular, you know, because of and the people were out doing bookings. Man, they were traveling all over the United States. And I could have gone with a gentleman with my record over to England, but I didn't. I couldn't get away from WLW. See, I was under contract then to WLW, and they wouldn't release me to go. And I would have had to quit WLW to go and play those dates in England. I wouldn't make that much money, you know, and lose all my contacts here, my family. Now it meant more to me than that, you know. People often wonder why I didn't go to New York. I could have. Mary Wood wanted me to. I just knew that my husband and Connie would not approve of New York. And so I stayed here, and I'm so thankful I did stay at WLW. They've been wonderful to me all the years I was with them. And I didn't quit, you know, until Paul Dixon died. Then they wanted me to stay on, but under their terms, not my terms. And not that I asked that much. I just wanted to know when I was going to be on the Bob Braun show, because my father was very ill at the time, and my daughter was in California, and I was tied down. I'm not able to go anyplace because Paul Dixon was ill, and I was doing that show 5 days a week. It was something else. So when they said no, you can't know till on a Friday before the following Monday, I said goodbye, so long, and that's when I quit. I'm telling you, Brian, we did not discuss our record deals with Charlie Gore. I don't even know whether Charlie was under contract to King Records. I don't know. And I don't know about Ruby either. I know she recorded Little Red Wagon or something like that with King Records. But I never discussed anything with them professionally, you know. With King Records did a lot for my profession. They really did. It really helped me secure a better position in WLW, that's for sure. I wasn't going to get fired every year. And it gave me more confidence in what I was doing. I got to meet a lot more people. I love my public. I always have. My public came first, and my family came second. That's why when I quit, my family then came first. Because you have to, if you'll see a lot of women in this profession, they don't stay married because it's very difficult. Because you got to be married to your profession, you're married to your husband. Something's got to give there, you know? And I found that out, believe me. I really did. And even with Milt, I did, you know?
Well,
Not easy. It's not easy to be a married woman.
Any stories from King Records that you thought was interesting?
You know, I don't have a lot of them. Isn't that unreal? That you'd think I would, wouldn't you? With King Records, but I don't. I would go in there, because most of the time I didn't like the songs I was recording, because they were cover songs. You understand? And so I tried to get out of my contract. I couldn't. I was so unhappy. But they made me stay on. And that didn't help matters either, with Sid. But because he was a very demanding man. He really was. I just don't remember too much. I just remember him calling me, and I went out there and did that demonstration for 7 Lonely Days, and he liked my version of it, and I signed a contract with him, all right, and we went on, and that was for 5 years, that contract. He did sort of change it a little bit after Tennessee Wigwag. He did increase it per side, my record, to 1.5 cents. But now I have no idea what they make per side today. Do you folks know?
No idea.
I don't know.
I'm sure it's probably a nickel or a dime, don't you think?
Yeah, not much.
Now, most of the money was made on the road. That's where I made my money, was on the road. Not that I made that much. My daughter spent a lot of it.